Ethanol has become an important component of today's gasoline. Module 2 covers the use and growth of ethanol and ethanol-blended fuels in the United States.
We want you to be able to describe the differences between gasoline and ethanol-blended gasoline as a motor fuel. We want you to be able to understand the three most common ethanol blends, being denatured fuel ethanol, between 95 and 98% ethanol blended with natural gasoline. Ethanol flex fuels between 51% and 85% ethanol. And E10, 10% ethanol in gasoline. On May 14, 2007, a tank truck carrying 8,000 gallons of ethanol overturned and burst into flames on an interstate in Baltimore, Maryland, killing the driver and sending a burning stream of ethanol into the street below, igniting a row of parked vehicles. On October 20, 2006, a train carrying 86 cars of ethanol derailed in New Brighton, Pennsylvania. 23 cars derailed and approximately 20 of those cars released product. Some of the tank cars went into a river while others burst into flames. Since the beginning of the 20th century, the United States and the world have become a motorized society. Most families either own an automobile or rely on motorized transportation on a daily basis. For the past 100 years, the primary automotive fuel has been a byproduct of crude oil, opposite from the European community, who focused on diesel engines for light-duty and passenger vehicles. The United States automobile industry has predominantly produced gasoline-powered vehicles. The heavy-duty or off-road larger vehicles and equipment are generally being powered by diesel. Both gasoline and diesel are hydrocarbons, composed of hydrogen and carbon and derived from crude oil. The nature and characteristics of hydrocarbon fuels are familiar to virtually everyone involved in fire protection today, since gasoline and diesel are so widely used and incidents are common occurrences. However, as a result of public policy toward foreign oil supplies and other mandates, ethanol-blended fuels are a substantial component of the U.S. motor fuel market. Today, ethanol is blended into nearly all unleaded gasoline and is sold virtually from coast to coast and border to border. The biofuels industry in general is expected to significantly contribute to the nation's motor fuel supply. The ethanol industry has grown rapidly. Consumers in the United States use more than 140 billion gallons of gasoline per year, and nearly all of that is blended with ethanol. December 2007, the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007 was signed into law. This comprehensive energy legislation amends the renewable fuel standards signed into law in 2005, growing the RFS to 36 billion gallons in 2022. Ethanol production facilities can be found across the country and commonly use rail to bring their products to market. The transport of ethanol via rail tank cars has increased significantly over the past decade, from just over 50,000 carloads in 2005 to over 300,000 carloads in 2014.
Ethanol for use as a transportation fuel has been steadily growing since the 1980s. As production grew, ethanol was added to gasoline supplies to replace the octane enhancers lead, benzene, toluene, and xylene, as they were being removed from the gasoline supply due to toxicity concerns. The Clean Air Act of 1990 further increased the market share for ethanol-blended fuel due to the mandated usage of oxygenated fuels in reformulated gasoline, or RFG, in certain areas of the United States to help reduce carbon monoxide emissions. RFG refers to extensive changes in gasoline properties that reduce emissions of volatile and toxic organic compounds in ozone non-attainment areas. Fuel oxygenates, such as ethanol, add chemical oxygen to the fuel, which promotes more complete combustion, thereby lowering CO emissions. Hydrocarbon exhaust emissions are also often reduced. Today, ethanol is the most widely used oxygenate for RFG. Ethanol has a blending octane of 113 and is widely used in creating regular octane gasoline from sub-octane based stocks or rising regular octane fuels to the mid-octane level. This addition of ethanol to gasoline to boost octane is an alternative to more severe refining operations, making ethanol one of the most cost-effective octane enhancers available to the refiner and blender today. As of 2015, the United States denatured fuel ethanol production capacity has grown to over 15 billion gallons.
United States Environmental Protection Agency approved an increased concentration of ethanol, E15, for use in conventional gasoline-powered vehicles in 2011. E15 can be used in light-duty cars, trucks, and SUVs model year 2001 and newer, and for use in all flexible fuel vehicles, vehicles older than 2001. Small engines, boats, and motorcycles were not approved to use E15. Higher ethanol blended fuels are growing in use. An example of this type of fuel is ethanol flex fuels, 51 to 85% ethanol by volume. Ethanol is also known as ethyl alcohol, distilled spirits, beverage alcohol, or undenatured neat alcohol. Denatured fuel ethanol is ethanol that has been denatured with 2 to 5% of approved hydrocarbon, typically natural gasoline. This blend is also known as E95 to E98, or fuel alcohol. Denatured fueled ethanol is one of the top freight rail commodities in the United States. Ethanol blended fuels may include blends of gasoline and ethanol in any ratio. Presently, there are 3 common ethanol blended fuels. The most common is E10, which is a blend of 90% gasoline and 10% ethanol, which is the most common at all retail fueling stations. Currently, E15, a blend of 85% gasoline and 15% ethanol, is being marketed and is growing in the marketplace. You will also find ethanol flex fuels in the marketplace, which range from E51 to E85. This fuel is sold for use in flexible fuel vehicles only.
Ethanol has been a gasoline additive since the 1980s. However, it has been since the mid-2000s that we have seen its use expand dramatically in the United States.
Ethanol production and use continues to increase, and it's expected to increase in the transportation needs to bring the product to market.